Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today we're looking at Sol 799. Now this set of images was taken last summer, middle of last summer, and I've got some clips of this which I did then, and I have shown one or two of these clips before on Mars Magazine, but I don't think I've put them in a video before. Now unfortunately the images were in black and white, and I've done this black and white Gigapan here, which is quite large, and it's quite light, so I've had to brighten it slightly so that we can see everything. But I've taken some clips and added some contrast to make the images stand out better. But I've also managed to track down a colour version of this set of images by Neville Thompson, which is really nice, and this has been colorised. Now, this colour's been added, but it is pretty close, I would say, to the actual colours of these rocks and strata and everything else. I would say sort of 90% close to the actual colour. If anything, this would be a bit brighter and lighter than this in reality, because when seen from a distance, this particular area here is very bright and sort of yellowish almost, and quite reflective, as if it's made of something other than natural rock, and it's very different in colour, in fact, from all the surrounding rock in this particular area. So this, I don't think, is completely natural, all this. A lot of it is, but a lot of it, I think, was either some kind of structure or a series of structures that are now so heavily eroded and dilapidated that they're almost impossible to recognise. I'm going to show you a few things, and what I'm going to do is show you each thing in black and white first, and then we'll look at the colorised version to compare it, because sometimes in the black and white version you can see things you can't see in the colorised version, and vice versa. Now, this, when you first look at it, seems to be a rock, but in fact what we have here, I think, is some kind of construction. And we have, if I zoom in, we have a cross section here, we have a sort of nose cone shape, and then we have these sections here. You can see parts to it. If I show you with the magnifier, hover zoom magnifier, you can get this magnifier for any browser, just look it up and you can attach it to your browser. Now if you look at here, we've got this cross section coming down, and then we've got these parts, sections behind it, right? See these lines here? You've got a line here and a line here. And when we look at it on the colorized version, you can also see that. You can see a cross section here, coming across here, and then we've got these sections behind it. Now what I think this is, possibly, is either some concrete column or some concrete construction, or it could possibly be some wreckage, and this may actually be metal. It only looks like rock because it's the same colour as the rock around it, but I think it's either concrete or it's some kind of constructed object or part of a structure that's fallen down from up here. Now I think logically, if this has fallen down, it couldn't have fallen very far. So I think it was probably attached to this or this here, and it's split away and fallen down in front. Okay. Now what it reminded me of, in many ways, is something I found years ago, which I published on my Mars Battlefield Gigapan, which is this one. This is Sol 2687, right? And this is the one with the thing that looks like a cannon here, this cannon, right in the background, quite a long way off. Okay. Here it is, just there, right? And when you enhance that and enlarge it, this is what it looks like. Here, this is the gun emplacement, right? Now, that wasn't found by me, that was found by Louis C. Franco in February last year. Really cool find, one of my favourites. But what it reminded me of was this thing. Now, this is from a different Sol altogether, and it links to it here. It says what Sol this one is. This was found by me back in 2014, and looks very much like a piece of airplane wreckage or missile. And you could actually link to it here, and it will tell you which Sol it is. I think it's like Sol 170 or 173 or something like that. Okay, so this goes right back to the early days of the Curiosity rover, not long after it landed. And we have this thing. Now, if you look at the nose section of this is what seems to be some kind of wrecked aeroplane or missile, right? And if you look at the nose section, let's zoom in here, we have a similar shape to it, which is a nose shape, and we have a cross section here. This one is circular, okay? It's got a circular cross section with parts coming around and over it, with the cross section going underneath. Now this may be in front of an aircraft or a missile or something like that, possibly even a speedboat or something, but it has a cross section here very similar to the one we're looking at today. Just here we have a cross section. But do I think this is part of a missile? Probably not. I think this is actually concrete construction, as I have shown before. In this area, at some point in the past, they were constructing buildings using concrete with metal parts and sections, cross sections and bars, reinforced metal concrete, okay? And what I think we're seeing here, and when we look at it in the colour version, what I think we're seeing here are cross sections of metal here with concrete in between. And here you can really see that cross section just there, and you can really see the other parts. Now I'm just going to outline these very quickly for you. There's the cross section coming around like that, and then we have these other parts behind it like this, which are now split and broken, and most of it's fallen away, okay? And there's the nose part that comes round, and we have some quite amazing detail in here. Now I don't think this is a natural rock. This looks to me like concrete construction, and I'm sure a lot of you out there who work with concrete and work in construction, as you have before, may agree, okay? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is what I'm seeing, because I've seen many examples of this in the area. So that was interesting. So let's get that one out of the way. Then there was some other stuff there. There was this thing which I did show on Mars Magazine last year. Now this is really odd. Now this thing here, I don't know whether it's a column that's broken down or whether it's a statue or some kind of Moai type statue or what it represents exactly, but it's very odd indeed. And we have, if you look, we've got the raw clip here and the enhanced colorized clip here. What we have are some interesting details. We have an arm or something coming down like that. We have another arm behind it, right? Which you really shouldn't get in a rock, okay? Just that on its own says to me that this is something unusual. Then we have what looks like a chin or head or something sticking right up like this with what looks like some sort of facial detail there, which I'm struggling to draw because I need to zoom in a bit closer. Eyes and a nose and the chin. This is a chin here, but it's very strange and it doesn't really conform to anything I've seen before exactly. I don't really know what it represents, whether it represents a person or whether it's a broken statue. It looks broken, but like most of the things in the area, they're heavily dilapidated and broken and smashed and eroded. Now if I show you on the actual Gigapan here, I've marked it on both of these. So there's that nose cone thing or part of some kind of construction that's fallen off this structure behind it here. This also looks like it's constructed as well, of concrete. And this looks like it was part of it and possibly was sticking up here, okay? Now if we go over to the right, we'll see some more construction here. There's this rather interesting block with square sections to it, and we have cross sections in that as well. So this is more concrete construction here. Square section, rectangular section here, and another rectangular section here, and you can see there that there's a cross section there, and another cross section here, and another cross section there. This is concrete construction, and you can see different levels of it here, okay? We've got a deeper part here, going further back, and a part sticking out in front. This part sticks out, and it goes back, then it goes back again, okay? So this is basically eroded and broken construction. These are technofossils. In other words, this is a type of technology, building technology, that has become partially fossilized and is very, very ancient. And we can see the actual sections of it, where it was constructed. And a lot of this material, I think, in the foreground here is very eroded, but a lot of it, I think, is concrete construction. It's not natural sedimentary rock. And I have shown many examples of this before, and like we have in this thing here, this I don't think is concrete. This is some kind of vehicle, like an aircraft or a missile or something, or downplane as I've called it here, and it's broken up into sections. This is the front nose cone section, okay, but it has that similar cross section there and there, which you don't normally get in rock. Rock has a grain to it, much like when you see the grain in wood. Rock has a certain grain, and the striations in the rock tend to follow a certain pattern, and you just don't get cross sections like this in natural formed rock. Okay, if we look at this in colour, we can actually see that square part, then a rectangular part, then another rectangular part here. Okay, and then it's got a broken down. This is concrete. Okay, this isn't natural sedimentary rock. And then over here, there's some really weird stuff. And there is that weird statue-looking thing with the arms, which I showed you a minute ago. This one here. Okay. So we've got it in black and white. Here's my colorized version, and then we've got Neville T's colorized version to confirm it here. Okay. Now it's not very clear, but let's look at it anyway with the magnifier. You can see that skinny arm type thing, or whatever it is, goes over the thicker one that's behind it. All right. We've got an arm there, and a thin arm or something coming down. It could be a piece of wire. It could be anything. Now, is this a statue? Maybe, maybe not. It could actually be part of some reinforced concrete. And these could be sections or metal bars going through it, okay? It could be either. It's hard to say, but what is interesting, and then I'm going to go back to the black and white one here. What is interesting, we have that one there sticking up. So I just showed you. And then when we look over here, there's a load more, right? There's a bunch more here. We got two here sticking up. These look like Moai. This one here. And we got another column or statue thing sticking up here. And then we have this strange thing here with a bunch of holes drilled in it, which I'll show you in close up in a minute. But if we go over here, there's also another column sticking up here, or the remains of a column or something here. Now it's a bit dark in this one, but you can see it sticking up. It's very strange. Now let's go to the colour one. So we got that one I just showed you. We got these two Moai looking things here, which I just showed you. Let's look at them in colour. This here sticking up, and this here sticking up. These look like statues to me, but they may not be. It is quite easy to see faces in these rocks, and I do try and avoid it, but some of them are unavoidable because they're so clear. These are very, very eroded, if they are, but what I think they may be are columns that have become eroded and dilapidated, and parts of them have fallen away and broken away onto the ground. And here's that other one. In the colour image, you can see this more clearly because it's a bit brighter at this end on this one. You can see this thing sticking up here, and it obviously has a straight edge there on the right, and it goes down and joins up to this material here, probably goes right down into the ground. Okay, so we have, and also next to it in the colour version, you can see this much more clearly. We have some complex, what looks like construction here. We have a square section of something with parts coming across it here. I'll try not to move around too quickly, just there. And you can zoom right into this on this one. This one zooms in further than mine, my Gigapan. So let's get a bit closer. You can see this thing here. This doesn't look like normal sedimentary rock, as it should be, according to NASA. This looks like complex, ruined concrete and reinforced concrete structures that have dilapidated and fallen down, smashed up, and we're just seeing the remnants of a structure. Now, is it possible that there was a column here, right? And then we go across to these. There was a column here. These are possibly parts of a column, or two columns. And then we have this weird thing with the arms on it, which may be another column. Is it possible that these were part of an overall structure? Because we have that one there we have those two there, and then we have this one here. Now that makes, if there was another column here, that would make a rectangular structure. And if you had a wall here, and a wall at the back, and a wall on the side, we've got the remains possibly of a wall here. So this may be evidence for a building here, okay? Because this column here is still there, the lower part of the column, and then we have what looks a bit like a wall here at the back, coming across like this, and then we have these either Moai type statue things here, or the remains of some kind of reinforced concrete columns like this. Okay, so this looks like a perimeter here, coming down here, and then along here to this other one here, and then we have the remains of an outer wall here, and then the top part of it here is completely smashed up and missing. So it could be. Now, if they are remains of statues and not columns, they may have marked the perimeter of a building, often as they do in ancient cultures. You have statues around a building at various points, okay? So who knows? Either, I would say. But when we look at these, now I call these Moai. They may not be. I've got a clip of those here. Let's move that out of the way. We've already seen that. We've already seen the nose cone concrete thing. And then we have these, what I call Moai. Now, what's weird about these is they're very hard to look at. They're sort of out of focus, and the camera isn't in sharp focus on this area. So it looks a bit blurred. Nothing I can do about that. But what I have done to bring out these details is added loads of contrast so we can see the actual shapes. And what we have, weirdly, now the thing I spotted first, unusually, was this object here, right, sticking up like that. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes, the same size in it, with these 2 holes here, which are a bit bigger. That one's a bit bigger. Now, I don't know what this represents, but it's not natural, because you don't generally get holes drilled, what look like drill holes in the side of a rock, which are the same size. If you get holes in rocks, they tend to be all kind of random. These are uniform. They're not exactly spaced evenly, although those make a perfect triangle there, and we have 2 more here. Why would that be? So that in itself is artificial in some way. Then we have this thing here, which either is a column or an eroded, broken down statue. But there seems to be some sort of facial detail here, with an ear and a chin and a body here, and remains of an arm there or something in a sitting position. So this could be a heavily eroded, broken down statue. There are many in the area. And this one here also looks like a head, a long head in almost column shape, with an ear here, a nose here, a mouth here, teeth detail, an eye here, and an eye here. An almost cartoonish looking head with some kind of headgear at the top. But this is probably dilapidated and broken, but there's some weird details there at the top. And we've got a semi sort of cartoonish looking face of a person with a very long face. Okay, very strange. But what this may actually be is a column, like that other thing further over to the right, that had a face carved on this side of it. And this may also be a column here, or these may have been joined together and the middle bit is fallen away. So this actually may have been one big column, and there may have been faces or facial details or characters or caricatures carved on the column, or there may have been 2 columns here, which is probably more likely, like this, and these were carved. So, I mean, if you look at places like Egypt, they've got columns all over the place, and in ancient Greece with carvings in them. In Rome, there are columns all over the place with carvings on them. So That, to me, seems fairly logical, I think. But the very fact that we have this thing here with these same-sized holes, which are like drill holes, is also very odd. And that's something that you don't see very often in the area. That says to me that there is construction here, and there were probably metal rods coming out of these, and reinforced bars coming across, holding some concrete together perhaps, or something else. I don't know for sure. That's just a guess, an educated guess. So we have what looks like concrete construction, we have Moai type columns, and we have this weird column here, or statue perhaps. This is probably part of a statue that's broken down, but why would this, if this is an arm, why would this arm be so thin, and why would this one be so thick? Now to me that doesn't make sense. So this may be actually a piece of wire or cable going over this, and this may actually be part of another column here that's all kind of broken down, but also had some weird stuff carved in it, like a face here, the nose, an eye there, and an eye there, okay? It's very strange. And when you look at it on the Gigapan, it almost defies kind of logic, because what you have here is this weird shaped thing here, which is either a statue or a column, but we've got these crossed over parts like that, either cable or arm crossing over that one, and then we have what looks like a head. But is it a head? Is it something else? And when you look behind it, it seems like it's joined to the thing behind it, but then we have sand here to the side of it. Now, that to me looks like a sort of optical rock illusion, and this seems to be in front of this rocky outcrop behind, sticking out, but I wonder whether it isn't. But it doesn't make any visual sense. It's almost as if someone's come along and pasted sand over part of this here to obscure it, because it doesn't make visual sense. Because if this is joined to the thing behind, which it kind of seems to be in the colour version, when we look at the black and white version, there it is up here, it also kind of looks joined when you look at the background, but that may be an artifact of the low-res imagery. In other words, your eyes try to make sense of it in a way where you think, okay, this is in front and that's behind, but then when you look at the material behind, it seems to join to it here. So there's something very odd going on there, and I don't quite get it. Some of you out there may look at it in a slightly different way and figure it out straight away. Got one going over the other, and you've got to think, well, what the hell are we looking at? Is this some kind of, are these metal bars, or what? Was this a concrete column? Were these concrete columns all round here? Was this a large building? I think it was. Now, this area here, just here, can be seen from miles away and is very bright. And when you look at it from a distance, like we have here, now this is the Forbidden City up here. This is PIA 19929, and this is what I call the Mars Forbidden City, with the domes and pyramids and ruined structures up on the mountain, up here on the lower slopes of Mount Sharp. And then we go straight below this, just here, and this is what we're looking at today. Now look at the colour of this. It's kind of bright yellowy, kind of magnolia reflective material, and it's much, much brighter than the mountain, and is similar to a lot of this material up here, which is the Forbidden City, a lot of which I think is made of concrete and sandstone, quarried on the spot and cut out of the mountain, cut out of the mountainside itself. And this down here is also very bright, okay? And from a distance it actually looks like a shipwreck here, coming along here. But this is what we're looking at today. And the rover, when it took these images, was right up against it here. That's the same structure. Now this has been colorized, obviously, and if anything this is much brighter, because when you see it on this image it's almost white, but it's that kind of yellowy white. It stands out very brightly against the other material around it, which is much darker, which says to me this is artificial. I've always thought this was artificial, this whole thing here. Now it's either a kind of fossilized and concreted shipwreck or some kind of structure, which I've been saying this for many years. So I do now think the latter. This is a structure. This whole thing is heavily eroded. It's got sand and crap blown up over it as well. And what we're seeing here is dilapidated, ruined construction with evidence of concrete technology, reinforced concrete technology, and we have possible statues and columns here which would have supported another structure here, okay? So there'll be clips coming up in a few seconds, so thanks for watching everybody. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. There will be another video coming up in a few days. I've got some really cool satellite images of Mars showing some what look like towns and roads and structures, okay? That'll be coming up in a few days' time. I've got a bit of work to do on that yet, but it's really cool. You're going to really like this one. So thanks for watching everybody. I'll see you soon.